Okay, we are live. Hopefully it's working this time because I was having trouble figuring it out how to start this. This is kind of a test, I guess, here because I haven't done a solo live stream yet in my honest view or whatever. I just hopefully it's working. I really hope it is because if it's not, it's gonna suck. Um, Other than that, we're going to talk some ball. We're going to talk some baseball here. The MLB playoffs are underway. The wild card round has been confirmed. Who is playing who? And I am very excited to say that we have our matchups. And our matchups are going to include the likes of, and we're going to present our screen to the best of our abilities here, because this is going to be a learning curve. Okay, here we go. Here we are. These are your playoff matchups, and I'm very sorry about the type of ads we might see because I do not have an ad blocker. So we're going to see random car ads. We're going to see ads for everything. So here we go. We have the Tigers, Astros, Royals, and Orioles. This was confirmed over the last week. We saw the Tigers this past weekend against the White Sox clinch their playoff spot. Love to see it for the Detroit Tigers. The Astros have been in there since the Mariners collapsed. The Astros just took control of that entire division, in my honest opinion. And the Royals, they had a little bit of a slow run. They really did have a slow run towards the end of this half of this season or whatever. It's been a slow last month for the Kansas City Royals. I was honestly worried that they were going to lose their spot in the playoffs to a team like the Twins, and I think they are lucky that the Twins collapsed. And then the Baltimore Orioles, we know and love the Baltimore Orioles. Very young team, great pitching, great talent on the roster, especially among the likes of an Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, all those types of guys. The NL side, though, let me just tell you, the NL side was just wild, especially today. Well, I guess yesterday. By the time this is going, it's past midnight. So it is officially playoff day. So the Mets and Braves played practically a playoff game during the regular season. They had game 161 and 162 yesterday. And it was, if they split, they're both in. If one of them gets swept, the Diamondbacks get in and the other gets in. The Mets and Braves, let me just say, game one of this series was absolutely amazing. It was so awesome to watch. The Lindor go-ahead 2-run blast in the 9th inning. Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. You love to see it if you are a Mets fan. I'm personally not a Mets fan. I personally don't like the Mets. But I can assure you the Mets' talent is there, and the Braves' talent is there as well. Both these teams earned their spot into the playoffs. Part of me feels bad for the Diamondbacks. They couldn't do anything but hope today. There was a funny thing on their Twitter page about how the whole thing with the emojis they did, they were just kind of stuck. They couldn't really do much with what they had. So the Mets and Braves get in. They both get in the playoffs. It was a fun time to watch. I think they split. Great pitching. I wasn't expecting, especially with Joey Lucchesi of the Mets, to give the Braves such a wheeling and dealing as he did. And the Braves starter, I don't remember the name at the top of my head. I was mainly in there for game one watching. And that game one, people are calling it game of the year for a reason. And it's going to live down as game of the year. And then we have the Mets, Braves, both get in. The Mets will play the Brewers. The Brewers, your NL Central champions. We will get into that in a little bit. And that could be a very good pitching series, in my opinion, especially with the Brewers bullpen. I'm really high on the Brewers bullpen, led by a Devin Williams of sorts. And then Braves, Padres. This is a matchup between two teams going to battle to face the heavyweight favorite, the LA Dodgers, the overall number one seed of the NL playoffs, or of the entire MLB playoffs. And it's going to be freaking awesome to watch this part of the bracket. And I think the Phillies are in a good position to be waiting for the winner of these three easily. I think there could be a chance the Phillies get a little bit of an issue with one of these matchups, possibly, but we'll get into that maybe in another live stream when we start doing the divisional series. So we're going to get rid of this screen here. So we are going to start, however, with looking at the Detroit Tigers Houston Astros matchup. And I warn you, there's going to be a lot of ads popping up. I am very sorry. We're going to be using fan graphs to be looking at like who's been playing every day, what's their wins above replacement, who are the pitchers that are going to be probably pitching for the Astros, Tigers, and every other wild card team. And who do I think is going to win each of these series, and who is going to move on to face the likes of a Guardians, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, and Los Angeles Dodgers? So we are going to do our best to get into this. Let's see here. Hopefully that works. Let's see. We're going to switch tabs, which we're sharing. Okay, so here we go. These are the wins above replacements of the Detroit Tigers. These are the guys that are going to be starting majority of the time. This is on Fangraphs. And I guess the elephant in the room is a Tarik Skubal. It clearly is Tarik Skubal. This guy is going to win the American League Cy Young Award, in my opinion. He easily has that. They also got Montero, Mize, Olsen in that rotation, and they are going to be a very solid young team to give the Houston Astros, I guess, maybe a little bit of a competition. And this is the matchup I don't think the Astros wanted in the playoffs. I think they would more than likely want to be that 2 seed over the Guardians. But I think the reason the Astros are here is because of that dreadful start they went through. The Astros, everyone gave up on the Houston Astros. In the back of my head, I was like, why are people just counting out the Houston Astros? There is no reason the Houston Astros don't become good. There's no reason they don't become good at all. They are going to be a team that's going to be threatening people. But let's get into the Tigers a little bit more. I'm going to pull up this screen so hopefully I don't disappear, just so I can see it. Riley Green, Parker Meadows, Wenceel Perez, Matt Vierling. That's going to be your kind of your outfield there. Kerry Carpenter, keep an eye on Kerry Carpenter. I'm really high. I was really high on Kerry Carpenter. I have a video I posted a while ago. I was my AL players to watch out for personally. Kerry Carpenter is on that list. He just had a killer grand slam the other day. Sweeney, Colt Keith, great year for the rookie. Spencer Torkelson, this guy's been up and down. Rogers, their catcher, and Young, their third baseman. And then this is the guy people want to talk about. Tarik Skubal. This guy, flat out amazing this year. And like I said, very sorry about the ads. They're going to be popping up like crazy. 192 innings pitched, played 31 games, started them all. A 2.39 ERA, strikeout percentage. He was striking out batters 30% of the time. This guy is elite. I am so happy the Tigers did not trade this guy, because that would have been the most awful decision that franchise could have made, in my honest opinion. So that is a little bit of a quick rundown of the Detroit Tigers. If you're interested here, we can switch this to playing time. This is what their outfield's been looking like. Kerry Carpenter's mainly been the DH type of guy. Riley Green's been playing a lot in left. He has played some right field, but he's their primary left fielder. Parker Meadows has been on fire, especially I was looking at the stats. They have been on fire this past week, especially Parker Meadows and Riley Green of sorts. Matt Vierling as well had some fun times this week against the White Sox, but it's just going to be, can they silence a very tough Houston Astros team? We're going to get to the Astros right now. Okay, Houston Astros. And here's our handy-dandy UPS guy over here. The Houston Astros, this is a team that has all the veterans you could ask for to go against the likes of the Detroit Tigers. This is the team I think the Tigers are just unlucky to go against. I wouldn't want to face the Detroit Tigers. Oh, I guess I wouldn't want to face the Houston Astros, that is. So if I'm the Detroit Tigers, I am nervous. I think this is the matchup that ruins the Tigers' chances of a miracle run. Just look at the roster here. I'm going to go back to this page to see it bigger. There's some key guys. Kyle Tucker, a WAR of 5.4. Jose Altuve, he's always been good, 4.4. Jeremy Pena, 3.2. Alex Bregman, 4.9. Yainer Diaz, 2.8. Josh Hader's in the pen. Presley, Abreu, Neris, Ferguson. And here's the thing I like about the Astros. It's the rotation, the war of the rotation. Framber Valdez, Yusei Kikuchi, Hunter Brown, Blanco, Verlander. Even though he's had an awful year, in my opinion, it's still Justin Verlander. If he gets some playoff time this year, we're going to see a lot of Justin Verlander in the playoffs. We know his experience. But like Framber Valdez, we just looked at Tarik Skubal. Take a look at Valdez here, a 2.91 ERA this season in 28 starts. This is the guy to look for if you are an Astros fan. This is the guy that's going to give the Tigers trouble. That game one pitching matchup more than likely will be Valdez versus Skubal, and I am very excited for this matchup personally. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. So if I'm giving my quick prediction of who is winning this series, however, there was something I do want to show. Like, this is the core of the Houston Astros. All these guys will more than likely be in the lineup in all three games. Yordan, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Yanier Diaz, and Jeremy Pena. That is the core. Those are the veterans that have the playoff experience. And that is why if I'm picking a team, I am going to go with the Houston Astros to beat the Detroit Tigers. As much as it pains me to pick against, I would say what a lot of people are thinking, America's team, which honestly, they could be America's team because every year we see a low-seeded wild card team since this new playoff format go on a run. It was the Diamondbacks last year. A couple teams have done it before. They just get hot. Any team that plays this first round's running into a team that has not played in a while. And I think the Astros are a team, especially I think if the Astros win this series, they should be a favorite to beat the Guardians. I don't know. The Astros, as much as people are going to hate it, I'm still high on the Houston Astros. I really am. I'm sorry. I really am. But you can't tell me this Astros lineup with that core won't be good enough. It's good enough. It clears the Tigers lineup. It does. The Tigers have a Riley Green. They have a former first-round pick in Spencer Torkelson. Parker Meadows has been killing it. Wensiel Perez has been killing it as of late. Kerry Carpenter as well. But it's the overall star power that is probably the X factor in this matchup for the likes of a Houston Astros to come out on top. But I am going to be taking the Houston Astros in 3. I think the Tigers upset them game 1. Skubal, first ever playoff appearance for Tarek Skubal. I think it's going to be a good one. And I think that's as well today at the time of this recording. So yeah, we are going to go Astros over Royals for the first matchup. And the Tigers take game 1, but the home series, it's all in Houston. I think the Astros take games 2 and 3. Moving on. Kansas City and Baltimore. So, the Kansas City Royals have been fun. They have been a very fun team to watch this season. And it is along the lines of a guy by the name of Bobby Witt Jr. They just signed him to a mega deal. He's making about 26 and a quarter a year, that is. He's there until basically the early 2030s. They have locked up the young guy on their team, the future MVP, which I think if Aaron Judge is not in the American League, this guy is your MVP in the AL. He is. He batted .332, an OBP of .389, .588 slugging, 32 home runs from a shortstop. You love to see that. He only missed 1 game this season, and he's only 24. This guy, if Aaron Judge was not a thing in the league that is the American League, Bobby Witt Jr. is probably your MVP, and I would pick him. Yet again, sorry about the ads if you're tuning in, if you're watching this later. I apologize. Can't find an ad blocker. That's good enough. So, Kyle Isbell as well, Hunter Renfroe, Massey, Pascantino. Keep an eye out for him. Michael Garcia. Paul DeYoung, they added at the offseason, trade deadline. Tommy Pham, they also just acquired Adam Frazier. So, looking at this roster, it's pretty good. But I want to talk about their pitching staff. The war of their starters. Cole Ragans, that is. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Brady Singer, Michael Lorenzen. Ragans, Lugo, and Wacha, if that is your 1-2-3 going into a playoff series, it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be awesome to watch. I think they're going to be a tough beat for the Baltimore Orioles. And let's get to the Orioles really quick before we give a winner here. Okay, the Baltimore Orioles. This is a team that a lot of people had winning the AL East. And it just didn't work out that way. The New York Yankees ran away with it. And you know what? The Yankees had the better offense, in my opinion. They were led by Judge and Soto. But the Orioles, Corbin Burns, Zach Eflin, Kramer, Povich, and Suarez, solid rotation. it could use a little bit of work. There's some ERA numbers right there. Corbin Burnes is going to be their guy. It's the back end of the rotation that might scare me for the playoffs. It might. Let's look at the WAR really quick to break this down. Yeah, Corbin Burnes is the X factor of this rotation, a 5 WAR. Eflin with a 4.2. Next highest is Kramer with a 2. But then it's going to be guys like a Santander, who had, in my opinion, a career year. Jordan Westburg, Gunnar Henderson, another guy, just like Bobby Witt Jr., a coming-of-age season type of thing, first full year in the league, and this guy killed it. He's only 23, a year younger than Bobby Witt Jr. This guy was on fire in the first half. In my opinion, probably was an MVP candidate, kind of cooled down in the second half. Still batted .281, a .364 OBP, 529 slugging, 37 bombs. I love it when shortstops are hitting the long ball. Like Bobby Witt Jr., we just talked about it. I think he had 32 at the top of my head. Gunnar Henderson with 37. What excites me the most about this series, however, is it's going to be the everyday battles we see between a Bobby Witt Jr. and a Gunnar Henderson. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Here's some WAR. Like Gunnar Henderson right there. A WAR of 7. 7. Adley Rutschman at 5.2. Not a lot of people have been talking about Adley Rutschman this second half, especially. Let's take a look at his stats really quick. He kind of had a sneaky good season. He wasn't getting a lot of the talk. I think Gunnar Henderson stole a lot of the show from him in Baltimore. And you know what? That's fine. That's a great problem for Baltimore to have because they have 2 great young players. Adley Rutschman, only 26. He's lived up to the hype of a 1-1 catcher, in my opinion. You're not expecting catchers to have the highest batting average, but he still managed a 250, 318 OBP, 391 slugging, 19 home runs from a catcher. You always love to see that. I know Salvador Perez has been putting up crazy numbers with power for the catcher, but Adley Rutschman, it's there. I was expecting, honestly, more power from Rutschman this season, but you know what? It is what it is. The Orioles are still a very good ball club, and this is a matchup I'm honestly very excited for. I really am. This is a matchup that I think could live up to be one of the best in the first round, especially AL-wise. I think this clears the matchup between the Tigers and the Astros, even though I have a lot of respect for both those teams as well. This is the matchup that's probably going to get all the ratings in this wild card round AL edition, you could say. The Royals and Orioles, I think, is going to go 3. I think the only chance the Royals have, I am going to pick the Orioles. I'm going to pick the Baltimore Orioles to win it, best of 3. But I think we're going to see a lot of action from Bobby Witt Jr. trying his best to carry that Royals offense. Because the Royals, they've been kind of sluggish this second half. A lot of people have been saying, especially this last month of baseball. You have to be playing very hot baseball to win in October. Everyone knows that, especially if you are a wildcard team. These wildcard teams thrive in these rounds because it's so easy for a hot wildcard team that goes in and maybe sweeps a team or wins best of 3. They're on fire going into the divisional rounds. We saw it with the Diamondbacks last year, everybody. They just go in. They're on fire. Teams that had bye weeks or buys for at least 3 to 5 days, they haven't played in a long time. They're not going to be ready for a team like the Baltimore Orioles or Kansas City Royals to come in and catch fire. And that team waiting for them is the New York Yankees. And I think we are scheduled for a battle of the heavyweights between the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. I think that is going to happen. So in the AL side, I'm sadly going chalk. I think the Tigers and the Royals are eliminated. I think both series, however, go best of 3. I think they are best of 3, but I think they both go 2-3 games. I think the Royals and Tigers both win game 1. Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch that for the Royals and Orioles. I'm going to say the Royals take game 2. I think Corbin Burnes is just too good of a pitcher to lose a playoff game, especially game 1 of the wild card, which I would presume he will be starting that series. And all these games, by the way, are in Baltimore. That place is going to be rocking. We've seen how the Orioles Stadium, Camden Yards, is in the playoffs in the past. Saw it a bit last year as well. We saw it in the regular season. This is going to be a very tough environment for the Kansas City Royals to get in and fight in. I would love the upset, but I think we are destined for a matchup between the Orioles and Yankees. So I'm going to go Astros in 3 over the Detroit Tigers and the Orioles over the Royals. Kind of hard to say Royals, Orioles type of thing in the same sentence. That's going to be my playoff matchups for the AL. So I'm taking the Orioles versus Yankees in the divisional series. They'll move on. And then it's going to be the Astros over the Detroit Tigers and the Astros and Guardians. Moving on. We are going to talk about the series that I think a lot of guys want to talk about. I want to sit here really quick and bring up, we talked about Mets Braves a little bit at the beginning of this. It was such a great game, and I am very excited to see how some of this goes, how the Mets and the Braves can perform against teams that are waiting for them. I think the Braves are in more so trouble because they got to go all the way out west. Both these teams got to play. They both got to play tomorrow, but the Braves got to go out west for their first game tomorrow, and it's a farther flight. Both teams, I'm surprised, were celebrating. I'm surprised they did all the celebrations. I completely get it, but if I was the coaches, I would get them all ready to Milwaukee and San Diego as quick as possible, try to get them rested. These teams are both in for a rude awakening tomorrow, or by the time, I think today, that is, by the time of this recording. Both of the Brewers and Padres are in a great spot, especially with the short rest the Mets and Braves are coming off of. But I do want to talk about the Mets and Brewers series. So I'm going to pull up the Mets here really quick because I want to talk about them first. Okay, meet the Mets, everybody. The Mets have a guy that I think would be your National League MVP if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist. I know a lot of Mets fans are high on him. Francisco Lindor, this is going to be an X factor. This is the guy that is part of the reason, and I mean part of the reason, that the Mets were able to beat the Braves in Game 1 and be where they are. The New York Mets had that amazing comeback after scoring 6 runs in the 8th. The Braves immediately follow, and guess what happens after that? Francisco Lindor, 2-run home run. He had an amazing year this year. Personally, and I'll just say this now, I am not a Mets fan. I am an avid Mets hater. I'm sorry, Mets fans, if you're watching this. I personally do not like the Mets, but I can give credit to where credit is due. Francisco Lindor, amazing season. I love shortstops. That can hit the long ball. 32 of those, 272. I think this season we got to see what Mets fans have been waiting to see out of a Francisco Lindor. This was prime Cleveland Lindor. This is the Lindor we saw for at the time, Cleveland Indians, now Cleveland Guardians. And 272, 344, 496 slugging, home runs, 32. He played in 151 games. Lindor was able to stay healthy, everyone. He stayed healthy a majority of the year and is the reason the Mets are at where they are. And I completely get I guess I completely get the MVP talks. And if you watch my previous video, when I did my all MLB, I said Shohei Ohtani's won the MVP. I would personally pick Shohei Ohtani, but I completely, and I mean completely, get the argument that Mets fans are making about Lindor. He's been playing a position. He's a positional player over Ohtani that has been playing DH, but you can't just undermine a 50-50 season because he's a designated hitter. But you have to appreciate the things that Lindor has done for the New York Mets. He's played 150 games at shortstop, 1 at designated hitter, and he's been a big reason. Mark Vientos, an amazing year for the New York Mets. Brandon Nimmo, big home run today. Jose Iglesias, what a spark plug he has been for that Mets offense. He released that song. It became their anthem, the whole OMG thing. Great story. Pete Alonso, this is a guy that Mets fans don't know if he's going to be back. This could be the last, I guess, hurrah as a New York Met for a Pete Alonso, and I think a lot of Mets fans might be worried about that. Personally, I think he's going to stay a Met. I don't know a lot of the whole situation. I don't watch Mets games every single day. I'm a Pittsburgh fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, so I keep up with other teams in the news, but I don't know where he is going. I don't know if other teams. I know there's a lot of teams interested, but I don't know if the Mets are in there. I think they are going to re-sign him though. And then Francisco Alvarez has as well. He's a great guy. He's a great player, in my opinion. I think he's a very underrated player. He had a low year for the average, but Francisco Alvarez, you got to just look at this really quick. 237, only 11 home runs. He was projected 22, so he did not reach the power potential. He only played 99 games, had some injury issues as well. But I'd keep a lookout. I'd keep a lookout for these Mets in this lineup. But the pitching, Sean Manaea, what a signing Sean Manaea has been for this New York Mets team. Managed at 3.47. Luis Severino, David Peterson, Tyler McGill, Edwin Diaz out of the pen, Jose Quintana as well. And then I didn't even name some of these guys. Harrison Bader, Starling Marte, Jose, all these guys or whatever, pretty good. But this rotation, I really like Sean Manaea, how he's done this year. And also JD Martinez and Jesse Winker. They added a guy in Jesse Winker in the trade deadline and has been working pretty well, in my opinion, for the New York Mets. So that's my little Mets spiel. I'm looking. We'll just go to the WAR really quick. I want to just take a look at Lindor. A 5.2 WAR, wins above replacement. Pitching wise, it's about where you want it. I guess Sean Manaea 3.2. Luis Severino 2.4. So that's a pretty nice little war going on right there, especially for games 1 and 2 of a wild card series that you're going to Milwaukee to go play the Brewers, who, in my opinion, are a pitching factory. So who knows? Imagine the Brewers still had Corbin Burns. I'd probably think differently of this series, but let's move on to the Brewers. Speaking of them. Okay. Milwaukee Brewers. Make sure that's going. Yeah, we are live on the Brewers. Okay. So the Brewers, I guess the story behind them was Jackson Chourio. Great rookie season. He's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate behind. I think he finishes third behind Skeens and Jackson Merrill. I think Jackson Chourio was just unlucky that the Pirates and Padres both have a Rookie of the Year candidate this year that has killed it this season. But Jackson Chourio, they already have him locked up. What a great deal that was. That's looking like a steal right now, the way he played. 21 home runs, rookie season. He also, I think, had a 20-20 as well. At least he had a bunch of stolen bases. Very well this year. Batted .275 as a rookie, and he's only 20 years old. Have a slash line of .275, .327, .464, and a 3.9 WAR as a rookie. You love to see that if you're a Brewers fan. Bryce Terang as well. Rhys Hoskins was the big offseason addition, I would say, for the Brewers. And what worries me about the Brewers is the removal of Corbin Burns. But they have done so much with this pitching staff. I say it all the time about the Brewers when I'm talking to my friends or talking to other baseball fans. They are, and I mean are, an absolute pitching factory. This team always makes it work. I'm a Pirates fan, and I get to watch the Pirates play the Brewers all the time. Guys like Freddie Peralta kills the Pirates so much. And this season, he looked pretty decent with that 3.68 ERA. A lot of teams just couldn't hit him. He struck out guys 27% of the times. He pitched 173 innings. He was very efficient. In my honest opinion, he got a lot of ground balls there 36% of the time. And you got guys like they added Frankie Montas, who was on the Cincinnati Reds. He was a big addition for that Reds pitching staff. Didn't really pan out. Ended up with a 4.84, but he's pretty efficient for the Brewers, in my opinion. He's made things work. And then we got an Aaron Savali. They brought him in from the Tampa Bay Rays this year, 4.36. So they take these guys with ERAs of a high 3 in the 4s type of thing, and then they back it up with guys like Devin Williams, a 1.25 ERA. If Devin Williams is getting the ball, they're winning the game. That's how it is. That's how they're going to win the game. If you get Devin Williams in the bullpen going, I know he's mainly a closer type of guy, but he's going to be a reason they win. But I guess a guy that hasn't been really getting a lot of love so far, I've been talking about Chourio and the pitching staff, Willy Adames, William Contreras, another guy I really want to talk about here. 23 home runs, 281 hitter, 365 OBP, 466 slugging. This guy was awesome. He played in 155 games. As a catcher to play in 155 of a 162 season, I think that's very impressive. He is the brother of Wilson Contreras, so if you heard the Contreras name, this is him, and he was very decent. Willy Adames as well, in my opinion, a great season. I had him on fantasy baseball, and he killed it. Batted .251 with a 331, 462, 32 bombs. The theme of this, I guess, has been shortstops that can hit the long ball, and they can. But in a 3-game series, I'm going to take the upset. The Mets right now are red hot. They really are a red hot ball club. And honestly, the New York Mets just kind of stick out to me. I said I am not high on the New York Mets at all. I don't like the New York Mets. I guess I'm not high. I'll rephrase that. I don't want to say I'm high on the New York Mets. I really don't want to, just because I don't like them. I don't like them personally. They make me mad, and I don't really have a reasoning. It's just the fans. The fans just aggravate me. But I have to give credit where credit is due, guys. The New York Mets looked very good yesterday in that doubleheader. They really did, and I think the Mets are going to give the Brewers a run for their money, so I guess this is going to be my first upset. I think the Brewers underperform. They catch a Mets team that's been on fire as of late and trying to get into the playoffs. They've been fighting their butts off to get into the postseason, and I think if you're a Mets fan, I think you end up getting happy after this 3-game set. I think this, honestly, I don't want to say it's a 2-game sweep. I think the Brewers could underprepare. I think the loss of Christian Yelich, a veteran presence, could ruin this for the Brewers. I know they lost him a couple months ago, but the New York Mets, Lindor looks red hot. Nimmo, I think Brandon Nimmo is a guy to watch out for as well. I think he is going to be a guy that hits random home runs. So just look out for Brandon Nimmo. We saw a home run today. Francisco Lindor as well. I think he's going to be on fire. So I am going to take the New York Mets in a shocking 2-game sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the Brewers are just not ready. I don't think they're ready for the New York Mets and what they're going to get into, and I really hope I'm wrong as a New York Mets hater personally, but I am going to take the upset here and the New York Mets sweeping the Milwaukee Brewers in 2 games. Finally, we are at the Padres and the Braves. Let's start with the San Diego Padres. Let me pull this up. Here they are. Nice Sunday Night Football ad right there. So the San Diego Padres, this is a team full of star power. It really is. I just want to pull up some wins above replacement really quick. Dylan Cease, Michael King, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great rotation, in my opinion. Outfield, Jurickson Profar. What a season it was for Jurickson Profar, guys. What a season. This guy was killing it. He deserved to make the All-Star game this year. He looked like the guy that a lot of people expected him to be when he was with the Texas Rangers. He's a guy that I think the Padres really needed to step up, and he stepped up this season greatly. He stepped in and became a guy that I wasn't projecting to be the everyday type of player to be the difference maker, but he basically shut me up this season, especially in the first couple months, especially the first month. This guy was red hot. Age 31, this was his best season in his career, I think, in my opinion. I think a lot of people as well say that. 280 hitter, 380 OBP, 459 slugging, 24 home runs, 158 out of 162 played. This guy killed it. Moving on, I also want to talk about, we are going to look at a guy like Manny Machado. This is a guy you always have to look at if you are a baseball fan. He started out slow, in my opinion, ended up 275, 325, 472, 29 bombs. It's Manny. Manny Machado is always going to be in the conversation of a guy to look out for. Now, Xander Bogaerts kind of been upsetting this season, but still, Xander Bogaerts, it's the star power. But Jackson Merrill's a guy I do want to look at here. This is guy in Rookie of the Year talk. This is guy in Rookie of the Year talk for a lot of people, and a lot of Padres fans think he's Rookie of the Year. I'm a Pirates fan. My bias is going to show there. I think Paul Skeens is the Rookie of the Year. I think a lot of people in the league think Paul Skeens is Rookie of the Year. I understand the debates for Jackson Merrill. I completely understand it. But just looking at the stats here for Jackson Merrill, 24 home runs, 292, 326, 500 slugging, played 156 out of 162. He outperformed basically all of his projections and the key aspects of average, OBP, slugging, home runs that they like to compare. And Jackson Merrill's going to be a key piece. He was a great rookie year, and I think he's only 21 as well. And I'm very curious to see how that translates to the postseason. I'm very curious to see how it goes for Jackson Merrill in the playoffs. And then how could we not forget Fernando Tatis? I am not getting a membership. Sorry, guys. 276, 340, 492, 21 home runs, played in 102 games. Fernando Tatis is still Fernando Tatis. He's going to have the time of his life in the playoffs. The key addition, however, was Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott, they basically got from the Marlins in a haul. I think they gave up a lot for a reliever in Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott was the hot commodity in the reliever market, of course. And, well, we know why. I know why he was, and it's deserving. He pitched 72 games this year and managed a 1.75 ERA. So they have him. He is a free agent. I don't know how it's going to go in free agency. I think he's going to be a hot commodity amongst MLB teams all across the area, all across the country. So, yeah, San Diego Padres, we didn't even get into Dylan Cease, Michael King, Luis Arias. He's always good. But now I want to get into a team in the Atlanta Braves. So this is the team that just clinched a spot into the postseason. This is the team that the Padres will be hosting, and they have to fly all the way from Atlanta to play in San Diego. I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be very hard for a team like the Braves to be able to match up to the star power. They lost a guy in Ronald Acuna. Ramon Laureano, nice home run today here in Game 1 in the loss. Michael Harris, the second, really stepped it up. Jorge Soler, great addition. Marcell Ozuna had a great year as well. Ozzy Albies, he had that clutch double down the line, but then the Mets completely just took the lead in the ninth with the Lindor 2-run bomb. And I'm really happy the Braves still made it after that, because that would just be heartbreaking for Ozzy Albies to have that happen to him after hitting that go-ahead hit right there, that double. Orlando Arcia, always there. Gio Urshela, they brought in. Whit Merrifield, they also brought in. Matt Olson is always going to be Matt Olson. He had a slow start. I do want to look at Matt Olson really quick. He had a slow start to the season, but woke up. I think it was a subpar year for him average-wise. He batted .247. I don't think he really wanted to be there. 334 OBP, 460 slugging, 29 bombs. I thought he was projected 36. It was a slow year power-wise for Matt Olson, but like I said, it's Matt Olson. He's going to be good, and I think they're going to be using him greatly in the playoffs especially. So Matt Olson, I'm not worried about him in the postseason, but I do want to look at their rotation. Max Fried, Spencer Schwellenbach. This is a guy, a rookie, 24. He came out of nowhere this year. I was not expecting him to be as good as he was. 3.47 ERA, pitched in 20 games. He started all 20 of them. Chris Sale, though, this is a guy that also took a step up. He was traded out of nowhere for Vaughn Grissom from the Red Sox. I was not expecting this trade. This came out of nowhere in the offseason, and this guy won the Triple Crown in pitching. This looked like prime White Sox Chris Sale, and you got to love it for Chris Sale. 2.38 ERA, 29 games, started all of them, 177 innings, had a lot of strikeouts as well. Chris Sale killed it this year, and Reynaldo Lopez as well as also had a great season. This is a guy that also came out of nowhere this season for the Atlanta Braves and had an amazing time this time as well. And Reynaldo Lopez, basically 27% of the times he was striking guys out. He only pitched 134 innings. He pitched some time out of the pen as well. Pitched in 25 games, started 25, a 2 ERA. I think they let him pitch today as well just to get to that ERA of a 2, which I really like that decision. I like them getting that ERA down. So Reynaldo Lopez is there. So that was a quick little rundown of the Atlanta Braves. Also like the bullpen. Love the catching tandem of Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud. So yeah, Atlanta Braves. So for anyone still out there watching this or watching this later, who do I think wins this series? I am going to be taking the San Diego Padres. I like the Padres over the Braves in this matchup personally. I'm going to take Padres in 2. I think both the NL ones are sweeps. I think the Padres sweep the Braves, and I think the Mets go into Milwaukee and sweep the Brewers. I guess when the division series happens or getting ready to start it, I might do this again. We might see it again. First time live streaming on YouTube. Hopefully it went well. I know we had some viewers in here. Hopefully next time we get some live comments and we can just react to stuff. So yeah, thank you all for watching the stream. So I'm going to go for my wild card preview and all that stuff. I'm going to try to make a thumbnail for this, make it more appealing for people to click or whatever. But those are my picks. We're going to go with the Detroit Tigers to lose the Astros. So the Astros beat the Tigers in 3. I'm going to go Baltimore over Kansas City in 3. And then in the NL side, it's completely different. I'm going to go both of them are sweeps. I'm going to take the New York Mets in 2 over the Milwaukee Brewers on the road as well. I think it'll be very impressive. Keep an eye out on Francisco Lindor. I think he's a player to watch out for here in the postseason. And then in the Braves and Padres matchup, I am going to be taking the San Diego Padres in 2 over the Atlanta Braves. I'd keep an eye out for a guy like Manny Machado to basically light things up this series. I don't think he's getting a lot of the attention in San Diego. I think a lot of the attention right now is on Jackson Merrill. I don't hope the pressure gets to Jackson Merrill. He's only 21. He's young. This is his first playoffs. I think he's going to be a great player, and I'm very curious to see how he can adjust to the playoff level. I'm very curious. Like, a lot of rookies have trouble taking the jump to the playoffs, but I think if it starts out a little bit of a slump, I think it also helps he's at home. So I think that's a key piece to look out for here if you are a Padres fan, especially. How is Jackson Merrill going to take what he did in the regular season and transport it to the playoffs, basically, if I'm wording it that way. So I am still going to take the San Diego Padres over the Atlanta Braves in 2. Padres, keep an eye on Manny Machado. That's what I said. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in to the live. I had a fun time. First ever live stream talking to everyone on here. I'm talking baseball. I'm going to try to do this for the divisional series. Maybe do some recaps in the future. Try to get things going. Try to get this growing a little bit. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in if you did. I saw a couple people who came in live for a little bit. So thank you all for tuning in. So we're going to go with the Astros over the Tigers, the Orioles over the Royals. Both those series go best of 3. We are going to go with, in the NL side, the Padres over the Braves in 2. And then we're going to go with the Mets over the Brewers in 2. Thank you all for tuning in. And that's going to be it for the stream. Thank you for tuning in to, I guess, late night baseball with Nathan. It was a fun time. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.